Today I'm in Kensington in central London. This is actually Kensington Palace behind me. I'm in the grounds of Kensington Palace. And the reason why I'm here is to go to this place behind me, which is called the Orangery. So this is basically the on-site afternoon tea here at Kensington Palace. This place was built in 1705 by Queen Anne as a greenhouse to grow her oranges. But there's no oranges being grown here now, but there is an amazing royal afternoon tea. So I can't wait to get inside and see what this one's like. So let's go inside and check it out. So here I am inside the Orangery itself, and I have to say this place is spectacular. It feels very much like a palace. It's owned by Kensington Palace, which is where the royal family used to live. And this place actually was Queen Anne. It was built for her in 1705 as a greenhouse so that she could grow her oranges. And actually, she didn't grow them for that long. She decided to use it for entertaining. So it was a place where the royal family would have parties. They'd invite people around, have a big bash. And today, it's a fantastic place to have afternoon tea. So it does feel very royal. We've got pillars everywhere, really high ceilings. Feels a bit like the Colosseum, that sort of like the grand Roman type buildings. There's lots of plinths with statues all around here. It's just a really good atmosphere. I think it's a great setting for afternoon tea. So here is the menu. And as you would imagine, with this being the Orangery at Kensington Palace, it looks pretty impressive. It's a really nicely bound, feels quite important. And it says, welcome to the Orangery. Our menu's inspired by the Orangery's rich history, and we seamlessly blend tradition with innovation in our dishes. So that's great. Now, it's got a history of afternoon tea in here. Now, if you've been following my videos, you'll know that... oh, thank you very much. Sorry, just getting some things delivered.
To bring you some fresh cutlery or anything?
I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, I'm fine. So yeah, if you've been following my afternoon tea videos, you'll know that we've spoken a lot about Anna, the Duchess of Bedford, who is reported to have invented afternoon tea. And it says here, there's a little history. Let me read it to you, because this is what the official line is from the royal family. So it says, prior to the introduction of high tea into Britain, the English had two main meals, breakfast and dinner. This didn't suit Duchess of Bedford Anna Marie Stanhope, who was between 1783 and 1857, the Duchess, one of Queen Victoria's ladies-in-waiting, suffered from a sinking feeling at about 4 o'clock. I think we've all suffered from that at certain times, haven't we? At first, the Duchess had her servants sneak her a pot of tea and a few bread stuffs, but then began inviting friends to join her at 5 o'clock in her rooms at Woburn Abbey. The menu centred around small cakes, bread and butter sandwiches, assorted sweets, and of course, tea. The summer practice proved so popular that the Duchess continued it when she returned to London, and high tea was quickly picked up by other social hostesses. So that's the official verdict of where afternoon tea started. But we're interested not in the history, we're interested in the real afternoon tea that we're going to get here at Kensington Palace. So interestingly, there are 3 different options, and you don't have to pre-order any of this. You can just walk in and get it, as long as there's availability. There's the standard afternoon tea, which is what I'm going to have. We'll talk about that when it comes. We've also got a vegan afternoon tea and a halal afternoon tea. I think that's the first time I've seen a halal afternoon tea option. And then we've got the teas themselves, and there's plenty of different options here. And the way this works is you can have all of the different teas, but only one at a time, which is pretty standard. You can also have coffee or hot chocolate, and interestingly, you can have chilled drinks as well, but only one at a time. You can't have a chilled drink with your tea. It's, you know, if you say I've had enough tea, I would like a cold drink. You can have orange, apple juice, elderflower, iced tea, iced coffee, sparkling water, Coke, ginger beer, and coconut water and matcha. So lots of different options. So pretty impressed with the menu, and I've ordered some tea. I've got English breakfast tea here. Really nice little teapot. You can see it's got an O in it, and this has got real tea leaves in here. You can see the tea. So as always, you're going to have to use a strainer. Otherwise, your tea will be full of little bits of tea leaves. So let's just pour that in. This feels really hot. You can feel from the top of the teapot that this teapot is keeping that tea very warm. So let's have a look at that. Nice, looks a good colour. No milk for me. Let's see what it's like, apart from very hot. I like this cup actually. It's classy and it's a bit thicker than a china cup. It's got the O on there for Orangery, but it's holding quite a lot of tea, which is important. Oh, that's really smooth, really good blend, as you would imagine. I'm basically having afternoon tea with the royal family here, so you'd imagine that the tea itself is going to be pretty good. So I'll have this tea. I'll see you in a moment when the food arrives. The food has now arrived, and as you can see, it comes in this spectacular 3-tier platter, which I always like to see. It's the classic way of serving afternoon tea. And what I like about this, it's not too wobbly. I've had a few recently where they've been really quite unstable. So we've got the cakes at the top, we'll talk about them later, the scones in the middle, and the savouries at the bottom. Oh, I just caught that on the way out. So let's have a look at what these savouries look like first impression. I have to say, my first impression is very good because visually, I'm really liking the variety here. We've got lots of different colour, lots of different shapes, lots of different styles. So instinctively, it looks like a bit of effort has gone into that. And also, they look like really good sandwiches. So I'm quite excited about this. Now, which way do we go? I'm going to start with that one there that looks like it's smoked salmon, but I'm not entirely sure it is. I'm going to have a look at the menu. So what does the menu say we have got for this first one? So it says that this is smoked chalk stream trout, lemon cream and cheese bagels. If I turn that over, you can see it's actually sitting on a little mini bagel. That's really quite fun. And there's a lot of trout on that. You can see there's a huge amount. So let's have a bite and see what it's like. That tastes a bit like what you would expect the royal family's lunch to taste like. Really tasty. And trout is a little bit different to salmon. I would say there's a similar flavour, but it's got a slightly stronger taste, a bit more bold, the taste. Not too fishy. I do quite like it. That's good. It's a good twist. Usually you get salmon. Trout, I think, is quite a fun way of doing it. And this one is ham with chopped tomatoes, and I think let me just check what the sauce is. It is gammon, ham, tomato with whole grain mustard. So that's a mustard mayonnaise, I believe. Let's see what it tastes like. I like the ratio of filling to sandwich. There's a good proportion there. That's really good. That's a really well-designed sandwich because the tomato gives you the moisture that you need. Sometimes when you have a ham sandwich, it's a bit dry, can be a little bit boring. That really lifts it, and then we've got the mayonnaise in there as well. That's a really good sandwich. I really like that. I like the size of these sandwiches as well. They're around about 3 good bites each, maybe 4 bites, which is probably that's what you're looking for in an afternoon tea. You don't want huge sandwiches because we've got the other parts to eat as well. So you need to sort of pace yourself a little bit. Let me just check out what this next one is now. I do like the design of this sandwich because it's got something funky on the top. So, if somebody comes around to my house and asks for a sandwich, I'm not likely to serve them something that looks like this. So it's slightly more upmarket, and it's an egg mayonnaise sandwich on beetroot bread. Beetroot bread looks interesting. And then I think this is a coronation mayonnaise on the top, but I'll just try it. That's really tasty. That is really nice. You can see there's a bit of tomato in here as well. If you look, there's a bit of tomato on top of the egg, which gives it a bit more moisture and a little bit more flavour. Because the egg mayonnaise sandwich can be a bit boring. That is not boring because we've got beetroot bread, we've got the tomato inside, and slight coronation curry flavour in the mayonnaise on top. Really good. That is a really interesting sandwich. I like that. Okay, let me try this one, which is usually my favourite sandwich, a cucumber sandwich. And you can see we've got some cucumber on the top and a bit of cucumber and cream cheese in the middle on white bread. That's good. I like the cucumber on the top. If I was picky, I would say I wanted a bit more cucumber in the middle. It's a bit more like a cream cheese sandwich than a cucumber sandwich. I like a bit more bite in my cucumber sandwich. I like it to actually taste of cucumber. But it's a pretty decent sandwich. I think when I take it in the round, that's okay. It's not the best cucumber sandwich I've ever had, but it's still pretty decent, and I do like a cucumber sandwich. So, yeah, overall, it's not bad. Now, this one is probably the most interesting of all of the sandwiches. It's not really a sandwich, is it? This is a spinach wrap with coronation chicken and peppers, and you can see it is absolutely packed full of filling and flavour. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this is like. Wow, that was amazing. That's really good. The coronation chicken, it's got a good amount of curry in there, so it sort of gives you that full flavour where you get that burst of curry flavour, but the peppers give you a bit of crunch, because I think if it didn't have that, it would be a bit too much in terms of the paste in there. And then the spinach wrap is a really good addition because it's very light and it's slightly different, a little bit of chew in there too. So that's a really good sandwich. So overall, I think the savoury selection here at the Orangery at Kensington Palace, really good, really impressed. So that was a great start to this afternoon tea. And the tea here, I've already said, is brilliant. So I'll have a bit more of this tea, finish these sandwiches. I'll see you in a moment for the best part of any afternoon tea, the scones. It's now time for the scones, and I've got a change of tea. I've gone for the classic English breakfast this time. Let's see what this is like. Excellent. Really, the teas here are first class. As you would imagine, we're basically dining with the royals. This is a royal palace after all. In fact, this is where the kings and queens of England used to live for 150 years. You know, the more kings and queens of England have lived here than at Buckingham Palace, predominantly because Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth II lived for such a long time. So in terms of number of monarchs, more monarchs passed through this royal residence than have passed through Buckingham Palace. But Queen Victoria was actually born here in the palace, and she lived here until she was 18, and then at 18 she became queen and decided that she wanted Buckingham Palace to be the official royal residence, so she officially moved from here to there. It's not very far, I mean, it wouldn't take that long to do it. But the gardens here are amazing. So Kensington Gardens actually is part of the same park as Hyde Park. The separation point is the Serpentine in the middle, which many people think is a river, but it's actually a lake in the middle. It's a man-made constructed lake, but when you see it, it looks like a river. It was designed to be like that, to feel like you were in the River Thames. There's a bridge across it, the Serpentine Bridge, which looks like it's a bridge over a river, but it was all constructed just to change the feel of the whole of the park. The Kensington Gardens here, which is this side of the Serpentine, immaculate, amazing, just incredible. And if you're interested in the history of the royal family, there's a memorial garden for Princess Diana, which is really quite moving and incredible. It's all covered, and there's lots of vantage points to view the water in there. There's a statue of Princess Diana with her sons, William and Harry. So really quite a nice place to come to. And so there's a lot of history in this building and in these grounds, and that's why I think this afternoon tea is so special. So it's now time for my favourite part, the scones. So we have a look here. We've got some jam and cream and 2 scones. Now these scones look pretty decent. I like the size of them. They're about the right size for me. I don't like them too big and I don't like them too small. We've got one fruit one and the standard one. So I'm going to start off with the fruit one because I prefer the fruit ones. In fact, between you and me, I prefer it if they were both fruit. That's really what I'd prefer. But you sort of have to take the standard one. Most places you can get a refill, and then when I get the refill, I always say, can I just have 2 of the fruit scones, please? There's no refills here on any of the food, actually. This is, so slightly different to some of the afternoon teas, but it is a bit cheaper, and we'll come on to talk about the price at the end when we get the bill. Now, anyone who's been watching me for a while, let me move this out of the way a little bit, because it's sort of impeding me. Anyone who has been watching will know that we don't use a knife. We do not use a knife for cutting scones. You break the scone. That's what the royal family does, and if it's good enough for them, and we're in Kensington Palace, it's good enough for me. So you can see this one, the way it's been baked, it's got a pretty obvious point where it's going to break. So if I just tease that open, what I'm trying to do is get both sides to be roughly the same size. Not too bad, not too bad. You can see we've got some fruit in there, some raisins. Which way round do we go? Do we go jam first or do we go cream first? Well, whichever you put on second gives you the overriding texture and flavour. So if you put the jam on second, it's going to be creamy to start with and then a little bit fruity, and you'll finish with that fruity flavour. If you put the cream on second, it's going to be the powerful strawberry flavour first and then the cream second. My favourite, my preference, is to put the jam on first. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. And if you've watched any of these teas before, you'll know that I like to put quite a lot of jam and cream on because why not? You know, it's a treat, isn't it? Afternoon tea isn't something you have every day of the week. Or maybe it is for me. There have been some weeks when I have had afternoon tea on more than one occasion, which is, that's just greedy, isn't it? But I really love it. I'd have to say this cream is a really good temperature. So this is room temperature butter, spreading really nicely. So there we go. This is what it looks like. Let's see what it tastes like. Wow. The scone. The scones are brilliant. The scone is absolutely brilliant. Wow, I'm really happy with the scone because it's hard on the outside, it's light, and it's fluffy on the inside, so it doesn't have that stodgy, heavy feeling. It's not breaking apart if you get one that's too dry. I recently had one that was effectively like bread. It was like giving me a bread roll. So it doesn't have any of that. It's just all the perfect bits. Now, just to prove what I was talking about, I'm going to do it the other way around now. I'm going to have a little bit where I'll put the cream on first, to put this on a little bit like butter, and then I'm going to put the jam on the top. Now, usually when you go places, you get little spoons and you can take it out of there and put it onto your plate. I don't have that at the moment, but I do have a spoon here. Let me put the jam on with this spoon to keep everybody happy. Now, I've got a lot of jam on there. Let's see if it does taste different this way round to what I've just had. It definitely does. It definitely tastes different. So for me, that tastes more along the lines of a jam sandwich. So if I'm having a jam sandwich, I would have bread, then I would put some butter on there, and then I would put the jam on top of the butter. And so the butter and the bread sort of become one. They become the sort of the base, and then it's all about the jam. This way around, that's what my scone feels like. It feels like a jam scone. It feels like I'm having mostly just jam on a scone, and there might be a bit of cream tucked away under there, but I can't really taste it that much. Now I'm going to just do the opposite way round that I did first and foremost. So I'm putting the jam on first, I'm now putting the cream on the top, so you can see the cream. Does it taste different? Yeah, it does. It tastes creamy. You can taste the cream. You know that it's there. It's got that sensation. You can taste the flavour. It is definitely different to having the cream first. So for me, that is my absolute preference, to put the cream on second. To have the jam as the base that sort of separates the scone from the cream, because the cream on the scone seems to just blend in. If you've got the two separated, you've got three different flavours, three different textures, three different sensations. For me, that's the perfect way to do it. But each their own. Try it yourself when you come for afternoon tea. Mix it around, do the different ways, and see whether you think it tastes any different. I certainly think it does, and for me, I'm always going to put the cream on last. So I'm going to crack on with these scones. There's only one jam today. That's just the way it is. You only get one here. It is a good jam. I like it. It's really tasty. So I'm not unhappy. I'm quite pleased. So I'm going to crack on with these scones. I'll see you in a moment for the cakes. And whilst we're here at the Orangery, I thought it was worth taking a short walk to the Princess Diana Memorial Garden, which is literally just behind me here. So it's on the other side of the lawn from the Orangery restaurant itself. And this Memorial Garden, I think, is very special. A lot of people have an interest in Princess Diana. She was seen, I think, as one of the most loved royal family members, certainly in recent years. And her tragic death, I think, made her, it rocked a lot of people around the world. And this Memorial Garden is really quite a special place. And the way that it's been constructed is really special. It's got a lot of covered areas that you can go in and have some private thought, and it feels quite private. And the way that they've designed the central part with the water in it, there's lots of viewing vantage points. So it doesn't really matter if it's really busy when you come here, you can still get a really good viewpoint. So I'm going to give you a quick tour around it now. So I'll just turn the camera around. So this is one of the entrances. We'll go through that in a moment. But you can see that it's very secluded. It just looks like a hedge. But if we just pop through one of these little vantage points, the garden starts to appear. If I lean in, we can see some of the water. We'll have a little look at one of the other vantage points in a moment. But there's lots of them all the way along. And at each end, you can see the full spectrum, and also at the halfway point here. So if we just have a look, I'll jump in this halfway point. You'll be able to get a flavour of what this memorial garden is like. So it's a fantastic pond. The gardens themselves are really well manicured, really beautiful and pleasant and quiet and private. And there's a statue of Princess Diana and her children at one end, which I think is really quite nice, you know, if you're coming here to pay your respects. We'll just take a quick walk through some of the covered area. You can walk all the way around this memorial garden. It's really quite pleasant to do that, but I just wanted to share it with you whilst I'm here having this afternoon tea, because it is something that if you're coming here, you probably want to have a look at. I'll just have a little look at this vantage point here, which is one of the private sort of viewing spots. But we'll go behind the statue, because I think that's it, this part here, which is covered. It's really quite nice and private and shaded, and you can sit down and relax. It's really peaceful. Yeah, they've done a really good job creating this. And then you come to the end, you get a really good vantage point of the garden itself. So it's a really nice place to come and spend a bit of time, have a bit of thought. Yeah, it's really quite special. So if you're coming to this afternoon tea, I would definitely set aside a little bit of time to come here to the Memorial Garden, have a walk around it. You will enjoy it. It's quite nice. It's good for the soul. And yeah, it's just a nice thing to do. So let's get back to the afternoon tea, but hopefully you enjoyed this brief interlude. It's now time for the cakes, and I'm quite excited because they look pretty good. I like this selection. Let me just put this tier on the floor, out of the way. So, what have we got here? 4 different cakes. I like the presentation. I like the fact that they're all quite big, they're all quite bold. So, we've got a Victoria sponge, not surprisingly, because Queen Victoria, that this was named after, because this was one of her favourite treats, was born here at Kensington Palace. So it would be a crime not to have a Victoria sponge when you're here at Kensington Palace. She spent the first 18 years of her life here, and you know that was basically her home. That's where she was born and where she grew up. We've then got a mango and polenta cake, which looks really interesting, like a cheesecake. Got a lemon drizzle cake, and then a dark chocolate tart. So the logic on all of this is always to start with something that has the lightest flavour and go through to the heaviest flavour. So the chocolate one I will definitely leave until the end. I think I might start off with Queen Victoria's sponge. So you can see on here there's like a monarchy, a little chocolate piece on the top with the royal monarch, and it's like, it looks a little bit like Kensington Palace. Actually, I think that probably is Kensington Palace because that's where we are. We're having royal afternoon tea at the palace. I'm going to cut this in half. Show you the cross section. So a Victoria sponge is classic in the UK, basically a very light vanilla sponge with some cream and jam in it. So quite a basic treat, but you can't beat the classics. Wow. That's amazing. It's so light, the sponge. The problem, you know, what I don't like about sponge sometimes, if it's too dense and heavy, it just ruins it. That is so light. It's almost like eating air. Oh, that takes me back. When I was a boy, I used to have Victoria sponge. You know, you'd have it maybe as a treat on a Sunday. That tastes just like the ones that I used to have. Really like that. There's a chocolate button on the top. Oh, that's nice chocolate actually. I like that. Okay. Let's try this mango cheesecake. The first thing I can tell you about it, it's quite heavy to lift it. It looks good though. I'm quite impressed with it. It's really cut really nicely. It's sort of got some good square edges on that. Let me chop that down. Feels like it's going to be light. I'll try this with my fork, I think. Oh, the biscuit base is breaking at the bottom. Oh no, I had a bit of a disaster. That is really good. As with the Victoria sponge, it's very light. So although it's hard, there's a lot of height to it. It just dissolves into your mouth. The mango piece on the top, really just a subtle flavour, but it gives it a nice sort of citrusy burst that you need. And then the cheesecake part really light. And then the biscuit at the bottom, it's got quite a sort of caramelly type flavour. Really good, really like that. Okay, let's put that back over there for a second. Let's have a look at this, which is the lemon drizzle cake. Again, this feels quite heavy. This feels a bit more solid, the sponge. Let me see what it's like. Okay, so have it with get at my fork. Oh, that's delicious. I love lemon. I just love lemon flavour, particularly on a dessert. I think it's just a brilliant combination because you get that powerful, zesty, lemony flavour, but the sweetness, because it's in a topping. Oh, that's really delicious. I wish you could try that. It's really nice. It's hard to express how flavoursome it is. All these three desserts I've had so far, they're all brilliant because they're really light. Because at the end of an afternoon tea, the last thing that you really want is heavy desserts, heavy cakes, pastries, because you've already had a fair amount of food, you've had quite a lot of cream with the jam and the scones, so you're wanting just something that's got really a great flavour in there, but isn't going to make you feel ill or sick when you go home and think, I wish I hadn't eaten so much. But these are first class, they are working really well. Now let's move on to the last one. I feel a bit sad that it's coming to an end, this afternoon tea, particularly this cake section, because they are so good. So this is a dark chocolate tart. This is actually one of my favourite sort of desserts. Not for an afternoon tea, just generally, if I was having something as a bit of dessert after a meal, they had a chocolate tart, then I may have a slice of that. I quite like the powerful chocolate flavour. See if I can cut this. Yep, so it's cut well, and you can see there's quite a lot of chocolate inside that. So let's take a smaller piece and see what it's like. Well, if I can get it onto my fork. It's quite tricky not to break the pastry at the bottom, but looks good. That's really good. What I like about it is the chocolate isn't a ganache. I struggle a little bit with the heavy ganaches because these days a lot of things have ganache. It can be quite thick, it can be quite dense, and it feels, just too much. That's more like, almost like a chocolate sauce on the top. So as soon as you start eating it, it just sort of runs and dissolves, and it's not too thick and heavy. Yeah, that's a good way of serving dark chocolate on this sort of setup, because you don't want something that's going to make you feel too weighted down. That is really good. So overall, all four of these desserts were great. Individually, brilliant. Together, fantastic. So I could just imagine, being one of the royals coming in here in the past, having afternoon tea, getting the servants to bring it all along. And in terms of who's lived at Kensington Palace, well, obviously the most famous resident of Kensington Palace, I think, was Princess Diana. She moved in 1981 following the royal wedding to Charles, which I remember when I was a boy watching that wedding. It was on the TV. Everybody watched it, like literally everybody you've ever met watched that royal wedding. That was probably the pinnacle of royal weddings. And she was iconic, a lot of people followed her life and looked up to her and saw her as being very stylish and a good representation of the royal family. And she lived here at Kensington Palace until her untimely death in 1997. So she lived here for 16 years. So this was her main residence. And obviously this place is literally in the garden. So this would have been somewhere that she came frequently. So when you're having afternoon tea here at the Orangery at Kensington Palace, you're basically walking in the footsteps of Princess Diana and the Memorial Garden. I can see the Memorial Garden from where I'm sitting here. It's literally just across the lawn on the other side. So lots of famous previous people lived here, lots of kings and queens. They've all had this sort of thing. I feel a little bit like royalty myself today, so I'm going to finish up here. I'll have a bit more of my delicious tea. I've actually got another blend here. I've got an Assam, which all these teas are brilliant. They're really nice. Even if you don't like tea, I would suggest if you come here, try some of the teas. Don't have milk in it. Try it just as it comes, either black or green or white or whatever your preference is. There's all sorts of different types of teas you can have. Just give it a try because it's all included. You can try different things, and you never know, you might like it, but it does complement really well. One of the best things, I think, if you're thinking about a British dessert with something to wash it down with, a bit of Victoria sponge. Queen Victoria lived here, with a bit of tea. It doesn't get any better than that. Washing it down with a cup of tea. And one of the logic, in the past, when people didn't have enough money in the UK, back in the Victorian era, when people were poor, a little trick that they used to do is you would eat cake with tea. So you'd have the cake and then you'd have some tea, and that would basically blow it all up in your stomach, and you would make you feel more full than you actually were because the liquid was just effectively expanding everything. So Victoria sponge with tea, very, very classic way of having your dessert. So if you've never done it, come here, try it out. You won't be disappointed. I'll see you in a minute for the bill and the wrap up. So here we are at the end of the meal, and I decided to order a hot chocolate because it's included, and why not? Always nice to try new things. I like these long spoons. You just mix it up, make sure you've got your chocolate all mixed up. Get a little plate, let's put your spoon on. Oh, that's nice. It's really creamy, not too chocolatey. That's just what I need actually at this time of the meal. I couldn't cope with something that was too heavily chocolated. Yeah, I like that. That's good. And got my tap water, which actually comes out of a bottle here. That's the tip if you're eating out anywhere in the UK. It's a legal requirement that all restaurants have to provide tap water for free. So it's just a way of saving some money. You're already paying for the whole afternoon tea. There's no need to pay for mineral water on top. Okay, so let's have a look at the bill first, and then we'll talk about the meal, and I'll give you my score. So bill comes in a very nice little folder as well. And the tea here is actually, it's £58 plus there's a £1 optional donation to charity, but it's already added. So I don't think many people are going to ask for that to be taken off. So it's £59 basically, plus a 12.5% service charge. So that is another, takes it up to about £66. So overall, that's pretty cheap. When I'm looking at most of the afternoon teas in London these days, for the high-end ones, you're going to pay between £85 and £95 plus the service charge, and quite often the service charge now is 15%. So all of those teas are over £100. So to be in the 60s puts this in a reasonably good price bracket. It's a lot cheaper than a lot of the big name afternoon teas. But how does it compare? Is it as good as those high-level teas? Well, I have to say that the setting here is phenomenal because we are in a royal palace. This is the private garden of Kensington Palace, where the kings and queens of England between 1689 and 1837, that's where they lived. That was where they were ruling the country from here. So this was their back garden. And this orangery, where we're having this afternoon tea, was built in 1705. So that was, pretty much when the kings and queens just started living here. So a lot of monarchs have used this house. And I mentioned earlier that Princess Diana lived here for 16 years. Prince William and Kate Middleton, or Princess Catherine, as she is officially, they lived here as well after their royal wedding in 2013. They lived until 2022, I think it was. So the children were born here and they went to school from here. They've now moved to Windsor, but they still have apartments here because Kensington Palace is split into a lot of different apartments, and I think those apartments are probably quite nice. So Location-wise, this place is amazing. The interior is so grand. It's so spectacular. Really high ceilings. It's really. It's sort of when you walk in, you feel that it's a special room. It's a special place. And the afternoon tea, did it live up to that location and that billing? Well, I have to tell you that it did. Yeah, I was really impressed with it. So it came in the 3 tiers, which I think is always a nice way of presenting it. It all comes together, so you can take your time. You know, there's no rush here. There isn't an element of you've only got an hour and a half, so please hurry up. None of that. The staff were really nice, really helpful, really, offered me lots of different things. I had a variety of different teas. The teas were really good, I have to say, really good. So I'm very impressed with the tea itself. The food, the savoury selection, great variety there. Lots of different colours, lots of different textures, lots of different flavours. All of them are really good. Probably the cucumber one was my least favourite. It's not normally my favourite sandwich, but I think today it was probably at the bottom of the list. But the other ones more than offset that. I think they were all really good. The scones, great. Only one jam, but it was a good one. The cream was really good consistency and good taste to it. Scones were about the right size. They were really good inside. They tasted brilliant. And then we had the 4 cakes, all of which were really nice, quite light, different flavours. I really like the Victoria sponge. You have to have that when you're coming here, which is where Queen Victoria lived and also was born. And she only left here when she was 18 to move to Buckingham Palace, so that's pretty good. So the Victoria sponge, definitely really like that. This hot chocolate's good. So overall, what's my score for the afternoon tea at the Orangery here at Kensington Palace? Well, if we were paying £85 to £95, I may have scored it down a little, or it probably might be a 9 at that price. However, it's nowhere near that price. This is almost a budget afternoon tea in terms of the cost of it. It's a lot cheaper than those bigger teas, and I've got to take that into account. So for the price, and given this amazing setting, and the fact that I can see, the Princess Diana Memorial Garden out of the window, as well as Kensington Palace itself, I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10. The only reason I'm not giving it 10 out of 10 is that if you come at a certain time, it can be mixed in with some other people. But I think it's phenomenal. I think it's absolutely brilliant. 9.5 is one of the highest scores that I've ever given. So I would definitely recommend coming here to Kensington Palace and the gardens and everything. It is an amazing place. It's really brilliant. Come in here, have the afternoon tea. It's not going to break the bank. You're going to get some amazing food. It's absolutely brilliant. The teas are incredible. I definitely would recommend it to anybody that's coming to London. So hopefully you've enjoyed watching me here in one of the royal palaces having afternoon tea. If you have, then please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will see you again on the next meal.